The sound of the shuttle echoed through the long metal halls of Station Greyrock. It was a cold place in deep space, far from Earth and even farther from the alien world of Zealer. The station floated near a red star, used for repairs and research. By both humans and alien allies. Inside the docking bay, a group of humans waited. Most of them wore gray uniforms with yellow stripes, marking them as engineers. One of them was Tom, a man with brown hair and kind eyes. He wiped his hands on a cloth and looked toward the opening shuttle doors. "She's coming," said Nina, the team leader. "Her name is Mira. She's from Zealer. They say she's one of the best language workers they have." Tom nodded but said nothing. He had never worked with a Zealeri before. He heard they were strict, quiet, and cold, but he didn't like to judge before meeting someone. The shuttle doors opened with a hiss. A tall figure stepped out. Mira had silver skin that shimmered under the lights. Her black suit was tight and smooth, like it was part of her body. Her eyes were light blue and calm, but there was no smile on her face. She walked slowly, her steps careful. Her face showed no emotion, not even curiosity. She stopped in front of the group. "I'm Mira of Zealer," she said, her voice soft but firm. "I will serve as your translator and data analyst." "Welcome," Nina said with a polite nod. "You'll be working mostly with Tom here. He handles most of the system repairs." Mira looked at Tom. "Understood." Tom smiled and held out his hand. "Nice to meet you." Mira stared at his hand but did not shake it. After a moment, she turned and said, "Please show me to my workstation." Tom lowered his hand slowly. Sure. "This way." The hallway lights flickered slightly as they walked. Mira said nothing during the walk. She held a small device that blinked green. It was a universal translator. Though she barely needed it, her mind worked faster than most computers. She could learn a new language in hours. Tom tried to be friendly. "So, is this your first time working with humans?" "Yes," Mira replied. "You'll like it here," he said. "We're a small team, but we get along well." She did not answer. Her eyes kept looking forward. When they reached the workroom, Tom pointed at a console. "This is your station. You'll help me translate old data logs and alien tech we find in the field." Mira sat down quietly. "Understood." Tom watched her as she touched the console. Her fingers moved fast, faster than any human. Within seconds, she had entered the system, opened files, and scanned pages of information. Her face stayed blank. "You're fast," Tom said. Impressed. Mira didn't look up. "It is required." Tom chuckled. "Well, still, it's good work." She paused. For a second, her eyes flicked toward him. Then she returned to the screen. "Shall we begin?" Tom nodded. "Right. Let's start with the damage beacon logs." Hours passed. Mira didn't speak unless it was to give a short report. Tom tried, asking a few questions about her planet, about her work, but Mira answered in only a few words. "The Zealeri don't talk much, huh?" he asked at one point. Mira blinked. "Zealeri believe actions are more important than words." Tom scratched his head. "I see. But sometimes words help people feel welcome." Mira didn't respond. Later that day, a small accident happened. A wire sparked and burned part of Tom's hand. He hissed and pulled away. Before he could move, Mira was beside him. She grabbed a med kit from the wall and gently pressed a cool gel to his hand. Her touch was precise but careful. "Thank you," Tom said, smiling at her. Mira's eyes met his. She didn't speak for a moment. Then, softly, she said, "You are welcome." It was the first time her voice had emotion. Only a little, but it was there. That evening, Tom sat in the dining room. Mira entered, carrying a nutrition bar. She sat at the far end of the room. Alone. Tom stood and walked over. "Mind if I sit here?" Mira looked up. "You may." He sat beside her, not too close. "You fixed that translator unit fast earlier today. I've never seen anyone do that so quick." Mira looked at him, surprised. "It was a simple task. Maybe for you," he said, laughing lightly. "Still, good job." Mira opened her mouth, then closed it. Her fingers curled around the edge of the table. She nodded slowly. Tom didn't say more. He just ate quietly beside her. Later that night, Mira returned to her room. The lights were dim. She sat on the bed, holding her hands in her lap. Her mind replayed Tom's words, "Good job." On Zealer, no one said those things. Praise was considered childish. Showing emotion was weakness. No one praised her growing up. Not even when she won science awards or solved problems no one else could. Now, one human's simple words echoed in her mind. She touched her chest softly, right over her heart. She didn't understand the feeling yet, but it was warm. And it was new. The next morning, the station lights flickered on. A low alarm beeped once, just a reminder for the team to wake up and start work. Mira was already up. She had been awake for hours, reading reports and scanning systems. She did not need as much rest as humans. Her mind worked best in silence. Tom arrived in the control room, yawning and holding a cup of hot tea. "Good morning," he said, stretching. Mira gave a small nod. "The beacon logs have been translated. I also corrected 3 data errors in yesterday's system report." Tom blinked. "Already? That's fast." "It is my task," Mira replied. Without emotion, Tom walked over to a toolbox and picked up a wrench. "Well, your work saved me a few hours." "Thanks." Mira said nothing, but her eyes followed him for a moment. Later in the day, Tom worked under one of the station's panels. A cooling unit had stopped working, and the heat inside the walls was rising. Sweat rolled down his forehead as he twisted the wrench again and again. "This bolt stuck," he muttered. "Stupid thing." Mira stood nearby, holding a scanner. She had been reading energy levels and watching him work. Her hands stayed still, her face calm. But she was paying attention. Suddenly, the wrench slipped. Tom's hand slammed into a sharp edge. He winced and pulled back. A thin line of blood appeared on his skin. "Ow, that's gonna leave a mark." Before he could stand, Mira had already moved. She opened a wall panel and pulled out the medkit. She knelt beside him, took his hand gently, and cleaned the wound with fast, smooth motions. "You must be more careful," she said. Tom chuckled softly. "I try. These bolts don't like me." Mira finished wrapping the bandage. "The cut is not deep. No damage to nerves or muscle." "Thanks, Doc," Tom said, smiling. "You're good at this." Mira looked up at him. "I studied first aid. It is part of translator training." "Well, I'm glad you did." There was a pause. Mira seemed to hesitate, then slowly stood up. They finished the repair together. Mira offered him tools before he asked. Her movements became less robotic. She watched his hands closely, learning how the machines worked. Tom noticed. "You ever fixed machines before?" "No," Mira replied, "but the patterns make sense. You make a great engineer." She looked at him with a strange expression. Not confusion, not anger, something softer. She looked away quickly. Later, in the data room, Mira repaired a damaged translator device. It had been giving strange outputs. Most people would have tossed it, but Mira opened it with careful hands, rearranged the parts, and reprogrammed the chip. Tom walked in as she tested it. He waited until she finished, then said, "You really are amazing at this." Mira turned sharply. "Why do you keep saying that?" Tom blinked. "Saying what?" "That I am good. That I fix things well. That I'm—" She stopped. He shrugged. "Because it's true." She lowered her eyes. "You do not need to say such things. I am only doing my work." Tom leaned against the wall. "That's the thing, Mira. You don't have to do it perfectly. But you do. That's special." Mira opened her mouth, but no words came out. That night, Mira sat at her small desk. She opened a plain digital journal file and stared at the blinking cursor. Mira looked at him. "What did I just feel? Fear, maybe, and something else." She touched her chest again. "My heart beats faster. I felt an urge to protect." Tom smiled. "That's compassion?" Mira's eyes softened. "Compassion, yes. Caring for others. It's why we help." She stared out the window, where the stars shone cold and distant. Later that day, the team gathered for a small rest. Mira stood apart, watching humans laugh and joke. Tom came over. You did well today. Mira looked at him. Thank you. Tom's smile was warm. You're becoming part of the team. For a moment, Mira felt something swell inside, a mix of pride and uncertainty. She was learning more than just language and data. She was learning to feel. That night, Mira sat alone in the observatory. The glass walls showed the endless stars. Her mind replayed the moment when she saved Tom and heard his words for the first time. She allowed herself to think beyond duty. Her hand rested on her chest. The warmth was stronger now, like a small fire. Tears began to form in her eyes. She blinked quickly and wiped them away, but a soft drop escaped and ran down her cheek. The next morning, Mira felt different. The cold control she always kept was slipping. Tom met her with a smile. Good morning, Mira. She returned the greeting, but her voice was softer. Come with me, Tom said. Let's take a break. They walked to the small garden doma, rare place on the station filled with green plants and fresh air. Mira inhaled deeply. The smell of earth and leaves was new to her. Tom pointed to a small flower. This is a sunflower. It always turns toward the light. Mira looked at it. Beautiful. Tom smiled. Just like you. She looked at him, eyes wide. He laughed softly. I'm serious. You've changed things here. That evening, Mira wrote in her journal again. Today, I saved a life. I heard words I never knew. I felt tears. My heart is no longer cold. I do not understand it all, but I want to learn. She closed the file and looked out at the stars once more. The universe was vast and cold, but inside her, something was warming. The day after the power core incident, the station was calm. The engineers worked quietly, repairing and checking systems that had been affected. Mira moved through the halls with steady steps, but inside, her thoughts raced. Tom noticed Mira seemed more thoughtful than before. When they met at the repair bay, he smiled and said, You look like you're carrying a secret. Mira paused. She was not sure if she wanted to share it, but something inside her urged her to trust him. She led Tom to a quiet corner of the station. The walls were bare, but the space was peaceful. Mira sat down and looked at her hands. Tom. She began, her voice soft. I want to tell you something. About my past, about why praise is strange for me. Tom nodded, encouraging her to continue. Mira took a deep breath. When I was a child on Zealer, I loved to build crystal patterns. The teachers gave us clear designs, but I liked to create my own. Her eyes distant, she said, Once, I built a complex pattern that shone brighter than others. I was proud. Tom smiled. Sounds beautiful. Mira continued. The teacher looked at it, then said, Acceptable. No smile. No praise. Tom frowned. Just acceptable. Yes, Mira said. On Zealer, praise is a weakness. It makes one soft. The focus is on improvement, never on success. Tom shook his head. That sounds lonely. Did you never hear good words? Mira's eyes glistened. No, not like humans say. Only orders, only cold words. Tom reached out and placed a hand gently on hers. I'm sorry. You deserved better. Mira's breath caught. For a moment, she stared at his hand. I did not know how to respond, she whispered. Tom smiled kindly. You don't have to say anything. Just know you're valued. Mira's eyes filled with tears. She blinked quickly, not wanting to show weakness. Later that day, Mira sat alone. In her quarters, she opened her journal and typed slowly. I have never been praised like this. Tom's words were warm. I felt my chest tighten. It is strange but not unpleasant. Perhaps kindness is stronger than coldness. She saved the file and closed it. Her fingers trembled slightly. Tom visited the next morning with a small object wrapped in cloth. I brought this for you, he said, smiling. Mira unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a small crystal, shaped like a flower. The light inside shone gently, changing colors slowly. It's from Earth, Tom said. A gift for a friend. Mira held it in her hand, watching the colors shift. It is beautiful. Tom nodded. Like you? Mira's eyes met his. A soft smile appeared on her lips. Over the next days, Mira began to speak more. She asked questions about Earth and humans. She laughed quietly at Tom's jokes, sometimes even teasing him. One evening, as they worked on the station's communications system, Tom said, "You're really changing, Mira." She nodded. "I'm learning to feel." Tom looked serious. Feelings are not always easy, but they make life richer. Mira thought about her past and the cold world of Zealer. "I want to learn more." Tom smiled. "I'll help." The team noticed the change too. Mira smiled at others, greeted them warmly, and even shared stories from her childhood. Nina approached her one day. "Mira, your work is amazing, but your kindness is inspiring too." Mira blushed slightly. "Thank you. I never thought kindness was important." Nina laughed. "It is. It makes people stronger, not weaker." That night, Mira looked out at the stars and thought of her home world. Maybe one day, Solari will learn to accept feelings. Maybe I can help. She closed her eyes, feeling the warmth inside. Tears came again, but this time she welcomed them. It had been one full moon cycle since Mira first arrived on Station Grey Rock. In that short time, much had changed. She was no longer the silent, cold visitor from Zealer. She now spoke more, shared ideas, and even helped with team planning. The station had just finished a major upgrade. The outer ring, which had been offline for years, was now repaired. With Mira's help, the communication system was faster and clearer than ever before. Her speed with translations and system codes had saved the team hours of work. Nina decided it was time to celebrate. "We don't get many chances to pause," she told everyone. "So let's take one evening to relax. You've all earned it." The dining hall was cleaned up and decorated with small lights. The humans brought snacks, music, and even a few sweet treats sent from Earth. Tom played a soft tune on a small music device, and people laughed and talked. Mira stood at the edge of the room, unsure. She had never been to a human celebration before. Tom walked over to her with a drink in his hand. "Come sit with us." She hesitated. "I do not know the customs." Tom smiled. "There's only one rule: enjoy yourself." Slowly, Mira followed him to the table. The team welcomed her with warm smiles. They talked, told funny work stories, and even joked about the station's broken coffee machine that exploded last month. Mira listened, and then without meaning to, she laughed, a soft, clear sound. Everyone turned in surprise. Mira quickly covered her mouth, embarrassed, but Nina smiled. "Was that Mira laughing?" Tom grinned. "Told you she had it in her." Mira lowered her hand slowly. "I did not mean to disturb." Nina laughed kindly. "Mira, that was the best part of my day. Later in the evening." Tom stood up and tapped his glass gently. "Everyone," he said, "I want to say something." The room grew quiet. Tom looked around, then at Mira. "This upgrade was hard. We had broken systems, missing parts, and tight schedules, but we made it through." He smiled warmly. "And one of the biggest reasons is Mira." Mira looked up. In surprise, Tom continued, "She fixed things we thought were hopeless. She worked harder than anyone, and more than that, she brought something new to this team. A calm strength, a mind like a sharp blade, and lately, even a smile." A few chuckles rose from the group. Tom's voice softened. "You're the best partner I've ever worked with, Mira, and I just want to say thank you." He raised his glass. "To Mira." Everyone clapped. "To Mira." Mira sat frozen, her eyes wide, hands resting in her lap. Her chest felt tight, and her throat locked. Something was happening, something powerful. Then it happened. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She did not wipe it away. More tears followed, silent, soft, but clear. The room grew still. No one spoke. Mira stood up slowly. Her voice shook as she said, "Thank you for seeing me." Tom stepped closer. "We've always seen you." She looked at him. "But I never saw myself until now." And then something even more rare happened. Mira smiled. A full, open, warm smile. The team clapped again. Not loud or wild, but soft and full of respect. In that moment, no one cared that Mira was from a different world. She was part of them now. Later that night, Mira walked alone to the observatory. She looked at the stars through the clear dome. But this time, they did not seem so far away. Tom joined her after a few minutes. He handed her a small cloth to dry. Her face. Mira took it, her voice quiet. I never thought I would cry. Not ever. Tom leaned on the railing beside her. It wasn't weakness. It was real. She nodded slowly. And it felt good. They stood in silence, side by side, finally. Mira said, "Thank you for your words. They reached places inside me I didn't know existed." Tom smiled. Kindness does that. She turned to him. And now I want to give that same kindness to others. The next day, Mira requested a communication line to Zealer. Nina raised an eyebrow. "Everything okay?" Mira nodded. "Yes, I want to send a report. Not about systems or translation. About something else." Back in her room, Mira recorded a message to her old mentor on Zealer. "This is Mira. I have learned many things among humans. Their science is not greater than ours, but their strength is not in machines, it is in their hearts. They give praise freely. They show kindness. They value feeling. I once believed emotion was a weakness. I now understand it is a form of courage. I cried yesterday, and I do not regret it." She ended the message and sent it. She did not know if they would understand, but she knew it was time someone tried to show them. That night, Mira made one final journal entry. "I was praised in front of others. I cried, but I was not ashamed. I felt seen, known, and alive. This journey is just beginning." She closed the file and smiled. 2 weeks had passed since the celebration. Mira continued her duties as always, but her steps were lighter now. Her voice was calm, but no longer cold. She smiled more often. She laughed softly when Tom made his silly jokes, and most of all she felt. She didn't fully understand all the emotions inside her, but she no longer feared them. They were part of her now. Tom noticed every change. He didn't say much, but his eyes always carried quiet pride when he looked at her. One quiet morning, as Mira was checking a sensor report, her communicator lit up. Incoming message, Zealer Central. High Council approval level. She froze. Her heart beat faster. Tom, who stood nearby, noticed. "Is that from your home planet?" Mira nodded. "Yes, from the Council." He looked concerned. "Do you want privacy?" Mira shook her head slowly. "No, you were part of the journey. You should hear it too." She pressed the screen. The message played. A silver-faced Solari appeared on the screen. His voice was deep and serious. "Mira of Zealer, we have received your report. Your words have surprised us. Emotions, as you know, are discouraged in our society. But after reviewing your work on Station Greyrock, we cannot deny your results. Your performance exceeded expectations. Your changes, though unusual, created harmony among different species. The Council has decided to begin emotional study trials on Zealer because of you. We thank you for your service. You may choose to return or remain." The message ended. Tom stared at the screen, amazed. Did they just say they're going to change their whole system because of you? Mira's hand trembled slightly. She placed it over her heart and whispered. They listened. She looked at Tom, eyes full of quiet joy. "For the first time in my life, I feel seen by my people." Tom grinned. "They finally understand what we saw in you all along." That evening, the team gathered once more, this time not for celebration, but to say goodbye. Mira had made her choice. She would return to Zealer not because she had to, but because she wanted to help others like her. She wanted to guide her people, to bring light into their cold world. The team stood in a circle in the launch bay. Nina gave her a small silver pin with the symbol of Greyrock Station. "You'll always be part of this family," Nina said. Mira nodded. "Thank you. I learned what family means here." Tom stood quietly, holding a small bag. Inside was a peach-flavored bar, a copy of Mira's first translated log, and a photo of the team smiling. He handed it to her. "A few memories, in case you miss us." Mira took the bag gently. "I will miss you. That is certain." Tom laughed softly. "You even speak like us now." She smiled. "Perhaps I became more human than Zeleri?" "No," Tom said. "You became the best of both." They walked together to the shuttle. Tom walked slowly beside her. Not wanting the moment to end at the doorway, Mira turned to him. I was afraid of feelings, she said. Now I know they give life meaning. Tom looked at her, eyes soft. You've changed so much, she tilted her head. Because you believed in me, and you praised me. He smiled. You earned every word. There was a pause. Then, for the first time, Mira stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him gently. It was not a formal gesture, not a learned movement. It was a true, warm hug. Thank you, Tom, she whispered. He hugged her back. Take care of yourself. Mira. The shuttle door closed as it lifted from the station and flew into the stars. Tom stood at the window, watching it disappear. She's going to change everything, Nina said quietly, stepping beside him. Tom nodded. Yes, and she already changed us. Weeks passed. The station returned to its routine. Tom still worked in the repair bay, but something was different, lighter, warmer. One day, while checking systems, he received a message. From Mira of Zeller Subject, up to T. Open it quickly. Tom, I arrived safely. The council has allowed me to lead the first emotional learning center. I shared laughter with 5 students today. One of them asked why they had never laughed before. I told them because no one ever said, you did well. But now, I say it every day. Thank you for teaching me how to feel. With warmth. Mira. Tom smiled as he read. He looked out the window, toward the stars where Mira had gone, and whispered, You're doing well, Mira. You really are.